All right. It is Monday, April 13th. It is 5 p.m. We are ready to start our legislative update from DeVore. And we just for a quick update, we got a paper copy, but I believe that this copy is not as updated as it could be. So DeVore has some more updated updates for us. Thanks for being here, DeVore.
Oh, thank you. Yes, my name is Davor Jurassic. I'm your state lobbyist. Good to see a lot of you again, or see all of you again. Got to see the new police chief, so I haven't been out here since he took over, which is kind of cool. Anyways, I've been representing you since 1999. No, I'm sorry. I've been representing you for the last... It's been a long day. We started at 7 o'clock at Port Gamble this morning. So I've been representing you the last 7 years, mainly focused on the road project out here and then capital projects and then some policy issues. So what I'm going to do today, I know we only have 20 minutes. I'm going to just give you a real high level presentation of what occurred, what didn't occur this session, talk about our stuff and maybe the future if we have time for that. So as I said, I had sent out a copy after the session ended. The hard copy in front of you is a more updated one, and I'll send that one out after this meeting. So anyways, this was the 60-day legislative session, the short one. It's the second year of the biennium. First year is 105 days, and they do all the big budgets, operating, transportation, and capital budgets. This is a supplemental budget, so they have to do supplemental of all three. The two big focuses of this legislative session was, one, the operating budget. It was about $2 billion short, and so they had to look at making cuts and raising income and transferring funds to balance that. And then a new twist was the high priority in the transportation budget of doing preservation and maintenance. And that's chip sealing, that's fixing bridges, roads, all sorts of stuff. And they've never really quite, the legislature's never really quite put enough money in there for maintenance and preservation. So this time around, they did about $150 million more in that, and that was kind of the new focus. And you'll see a lot more of that, more pushing for not more shiny objects, new shiny objects, but fixing what we have and keeping the bridges safe. There's tons of bridges that are not that safe around here. So anyways, so that was a 60-day session. It adjourned on time. So started January 12th, ended March 12th, and the governor had 20 days, except Sundays, to sign or veto bills, which he did, and he concluded signing of the bills on April 1st, April Fool's Day. He signed the operating budget and the capital budget. So in the operating budget, how did they overcome this $2 billion deficit? What they did is they transferred funds. They transferred $880 million out of the rainy day fund. They closed down the Left One pension plan. That's the firemen and policemen. There was a surplus in there of almost $4 billion. So they're using that surplus to help balance future budgets. They took money away from the public works account, which cities and counties rely on quite a bit. And they also transferred, did not fully fund pre-K and also buses. So there's a whole bunch of stuff that they did and didn't do there, but more to come on that. We'll be running into the similar issues this next coming session with the costs going up all over. Capital budget, that's something we get money out of almost every year. This year, there was only about $900 million in the supplemental capital budget. That's about $1 billion short. That money comes from the operating budget, and they said, we're not spending that money on capital projects. We got to keep it for operating. So capital budget took a hit. Transportation, which was interesting, that's about a $16 billion budget. And like I said, their primary focus was on preservation and maintenance. And the whole issue there was bonding. the legislature only has so much bonding capacity for the capital budget and the transportation budget. And the bonding capacity is pretty, we've used up a lot of our bonding capacity. In that $16 billion budget, about $1 billion of that is paying off loans, paying off bonds. So there was a big discussion of, are we going to use these bonds now to pay for all these projects that we can't even pay for? Or are we going to hold off and use it for down the line when the federal culvert case comes into effect? All your new culverts here. They need about $4 billion more to complete those culverts. So the House wanted to keep their bonding capacity. The Senate didn't. Senate won, and so they're doing about $150 million more in bonding. So that's kind of the difference, and really was the rub this time in transportation. So funding requests for SWIM, we had 2 requests. As you know, our US 101 Simdar's bypass, we've been working on that since day one. We received funding, we got funding moved up. In the end, the funding, $32 million got moved out to 2031. And we need about $2 million to complete our design work. So we came to the legislature this time and our legislators and said, listen, SWIM and the coalition, the county, the city, the tribe, and the port, we can probably put up about 800,000 in different grants, but we need $1 million from the legislature. So we needed about 1.82 million to continue forward on the project. And we did not receive that money this session. So what we're doing now, we just had a good meeting. We're looking at reconfiguring the project, re-educating legislators, putting our coalition together, getting everyone on the same page and moving forward, because there will be a new revenue package this coming year. They have to. In some way, shape, or form, there will be new money. So regarding our Margaret Kinnear Inclusive Playground, we kind of took a long shot at this time around because we had already received $500,000 in the RCO grants. Those are grants specifically for parks and rec, but we needed another $500,000, and we knew, well, I don't know if we're going to get it or not, but we tried and didn't get it. They said, you already gave $500,000. Steve Theringer isn't here to give you more money. And that's how it ended up. So we're looking at what projects do we want to look for in this coming session. So I'll just stop real quick, see if there's any questions whatsoever. Nope. Okay. And then just a couple of bills of interest. The one that passed is on page 2, 6110. And this is interesting. This is addressing electronic bicycles and electronic motorcycles. And in some cities, there's a major problem with young kids riding these vehicles on the sidewalks, going the wrong way in traffic, and they're fast. And so now the Association of Washington Cities said, hey, this is a problem. We have to figure this out. So they introduced legislation. We need better definitions. We need our law enforcement to know what's an electric bike, what's an electric motorcycle. And so they're putting together a task force with the industry and cities and going forward on that. What was funny, driving down here today, there was a guy bombing up the hill on an electric bike the wrong way and just flew past me. I went, all right, well, that's timely. So I don't know if that happens a lot here. Yeah, but a lot of cities are experiencing the same thing. Oops.
Thank you for sharing that, Devor. I just want to jump in real fast on that. I lived for 3 years in Portland and experienced an really excellent infrastructure for bicycles. And what comes with that when there is so much infrastructure around bicycles is there's this community sense about what is acceptable bike usage, and that just I applaud the efforts of the work group, and I hope that it's going to take each community coming together and building that community learn and creating that culture of this is how you ride, and the bicycle is a vehicle, and it takes, you know, each individual rider taking ownership of that identity, as it were, and realizing, oh yeah, I'm a vehicle using this roadway and I have to follow the same rules of the road. So I hope that there's some of that through the work group that the AWC is convening, and with all of the other representatives from industry, I hope that they are able to move that needle forward here in Washington State. We have some excellent groups here on the peninsula and tons of bicycling. It's a big deal here. So hopefully we can help the community realize that they are vehicles and that they should be engaging with the infrastructure in that way. So appreciate that. Thank you for the update.
Yeah, no problem. It's kind of, if you remember years and years ago, when jet skis came on the scene, San Juan Islands wanted to ban them because you're going 70 miles an hour, 14-year-old kids, and went the similar route. And that the industry actually came to the legislature and said, you know, we got a problem here. We have to put some age restrictions on these jet ski uses. So this is kind of similar to that, where you have new, you know, machinery out there. You have a lot of them. You can buy them at Costco, and they're flying. They're just, but I'd like one of them, actually. Okay, just a couple more things. One bill on page 2, I put that in there. For the last couple of years, we've tracked a lot of the housing bills, mobile home park bills. I think one night you got 75 citizens here talking about mobile home parks. So all the housing stuff was basically last year, and this was kind of a little cleanup stuff, but I've listed all the housing bills that would affect the city, so you can look at that. And I'm just showing you one bill by your rep, Adam Birnbaum, that expands wastewater systems that must serve middle housing. So I don't know how much middle housing you have, but that was one of his pieces of legislation that he passed this year. I think it's, I don't know.
It's determined, I don't know the numbers off the top of my head because I don't keep that detail, but it's determined by the percentage of median income, AMI. So it's not, there's low income housing for people below a certain percentage, and there's middle housing, and then there's the market rate, or I don't know if they call it high income, but anyway, a standard housing. So it's in that middle band where a lot of resources get left out.
I don't understand why they'd be left out.
In terms of the allocation of resources, there's resources allocated to low income housing as you know,
Cash. So lower rates.
either lower rates or waivers on lower waivers on permits, or, you know, that there's all sorts of different ways, strategies to incentivize the development of low income housing.
Yeah.
So,
And that'll still be a major topic going forward. But like I said, they passed so many pieces of legislation dealing with housing last year. They try not to duplicate that. They say, all right, we passed this legislation. Let's see if it works before we start, you know, changing more legislation in the same area, laws in the same area.
the benefit for us in terms of bringing it here locally is that this is the sort of housing that people that serve us as our school teachers or our medical professionals, people that have jobs with decent incomes,
Mhm.
but we still have such a high average median income and housing costs here on the peninsula, and particularly in Sequim, that those people are sort of priced out of the local housing market. So we don't have houses available for the people that we depend on to serve our community.
Right. And then they start commuting or, or not coming, right? So that's one that Representative Birnbaum introduced and got passed. It's kind of, I think he had the support of the Association of Washington Cities, but I don't think he ever came to us and said, I'd like your support on this. I think it was a pretty smooth bill, went all the way through. And just one more bill to talk about. Everyone's heard about the millionaire's tax. I only bring this up because this is kind of historic. The House debated over 24 hours. 24 hours. Yeah. 26 hours. Yeah, we had a bet. This is my partner, Jean Cushman. She and I worked together, and we had a early morning meeting in Port Gamble. So she has to sit through listening to me, listening to me. But anyway, so yeah, the millionaire's tax was hugely contentious, both Republicans and the Democrats. In the end, it passed, but there's already a lawsuit. And the fear is, not for most people, it's not taxing millionaires, but it's putting an income tax on regular citizens, and how far down is that income tax going to happen? Because once you have a tax on the books, you can always expand it. So that was just kind of a side that took up a heck of a lot of time, very contentious, and maybe in the end it'll get overruled by the courts.
Can you just expand a little bit on this, the second half of that paragraph, the impact on our sales tax, the amendment that is going to impact on the allocation of sales tax to local governments?
Yeah, so I think internally or through the Association of Washington Cities, you can figure out what the exact hit is. I think last year, they introduced, as part of balancing the operating budget, they passed a piece of legislation that put sales tax on a variety of items that didn't have sales tax before. So that was a boon to cities that receive sales tax. It was a boon to public transit agencies. They were like a Metro, figured with all these new taxes, they would be generating an extra $50 million a year. That's just Metro. That's not King County. So all taxes went into effect last year, and there was pushback. There was taxes on presentations, public presentations. There was taxes on interlocal government agreements. So if you're a transit agency and you hire the county to police your areas, an example, one client, $5 million a year, that's an additional $500,000 in taxes. So there were a bunch of taxes that were put on the books, and then some of them were taken off this year. So that's why you kind of have to look at when those taxes are going to come off, when the new ones are going into effect, and things like that. But I think the Association of Washington Cities might have an easy way to look that up in the formula. So, but I think that's my 20 minutes.
That went by really fast. I don't have any questions, but I did want to say one of the things that really stood out. I know our highway project keeps getting pushed back, which is unfortunate, but trying to take the optimistic road of, we got to start somewhere. And sometimes it can take a decade or two to get things actually started. And so I just, friendly reminder to everybody that it's not over yet, just because it gets pushed back, like it's not over yet.
No, not at all. Not at all. I mean, it's all up to our coalition and our legislators to get the money, because there's always money. Even if they're a $2 billion deficit, there's always money, right? And so our legislators, in my estimation, have to draw a line in the sand and say, this is very important to us and we need this money.
Yeah.
And that's what Senator Vandeweghe did, got us the original $32 million.
Yeah.
So not many people were here then, but the bypass took over 30 years to get. It started in the 60s and we didn't get it to the end of the 90s. So.
Well, and before this meeting, as DeVore mentioned, we kind of brainstormed with Megan, Paul, myself, and DeVore and his partner. How do we repackage this? What is our next strategic plan? And some really good points came out of that. We're going to be moving fairly quickly. We put tasks and timelines with that. But I really like that we've got to tighten up our coalition. We really need to know if the county, because they're county roads, frankly, and county residents, and if they've got in their head their own roads that they're trying to do somewhere else, and that's contradicting our ask or competing for it, we really got to get their commitment to prioritize this as a peninsula. So that was one of the many things that we came up with. I think and Port Angeles needs to be a part of that coalition as well. So we'll be pulling that together soon.
Yeah, we had a very strong coalition the first couple of years. We went and did meetings together with legislators, the tribe, the county, the city, with all the pertinent legislators. And I think the other entities thought, all right, SQUIM has it. Don't have to worry about it. Don't have to, put this on top of our agenda. And, they start talking about other things. So, but that's why we need our coalition together. And we're talking about bringing the firemen in too, because it's a big safety issue. So, yeah. And then we can think of a capital project we'd like to get funded. There you go.
Any other questions or comments?
Someone asked me the other day about the Simdars project, and they're like, well, what if we could community members make contributions? And I didn't have a really good answer for them. And I think the answer is probably no, but I'll let you talk.
You know what? Yeah, that would be a no. But what they can do and so originally, when I came on board, we had 500 signatures of citizens that supported this project. That's how I got here. The human outcry, we got to fix this. When these folks are talking to you about that, maybe you can say, what groups are you a member of? We're your Rotary or we're your chamber, or will your senior group or whatever write a letter of support and how important this is. Yeah, because we had a whole bunch of momentum and then it got whacked. So the problem is still there and getting worse. But yeah, letters. And then when we go to see legislators, it's just not the letter of the county, the city, and the tribe. It's these citizens here too, or these teachers, or that kind of stuff. So that would help a lot.
Anything else before we wrap up? Okay.
All right.
All right. Well, thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for taking the time to come here and
Yep.
talk to us.
Hopefully
really
it was
appreciate it.
Informative. There's so much
Absolutely.
and it's hard to just.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. It is 5:23. We will adjourn the work session and we will be back for a regular council meeting at 6 p.m. Thank you. It is 6 p.m. Monday, April 13th. We will call this meeting to order, and we will start with our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. I will move on to the next agenda item, which is our every quarter we read our statement of coexistence. The city we now know as Sequim was once inhabited solely by First Peoples known as the S'Klallam people, represented by the three tribal governments, Jamestown S'Klallam, Port Gamble S'Klallam, and Lower Elwha S'Klallam. Of these three sister tribes, the Jamestown S'Klallam tribe takes lead in relationships with the city of Sequim, while including the two sister tribes as determined by the tribes. We, the Sequim City Council, and our partner, the Jamestown S'Klallam tribe, value coexisting respectfully and responsibly together for the purpose of stewarding the people, lands, and the institutions that serve us. Our governments do not work alone in isolation, but care for each other's communities. With enlightened awareness of the local history of this area, we commit to a continued partnership and collaboration as two sovereigns. This statement of coexistence and government-to-government relationship is a respect to the S'Klallam people and their history. City Clerk, if you could take roll call.
Councillor Kelly Berger,
Here.
Councillor Dan Butler,
Here.
Councillor Pete Chimslin,
Here.
Mayor Rachel Anderson,
Present.
Councillor Harmony Rudder,
Here.
Deputy Mayor Nicole Hartman.
Here.
Is there a motion to excuse Councillor Janice?
I move to excuse Councillor Janice from attendance at today's city council meeting.
Thank you.
Second.
All right, any opposed? Seeing none, we will move forward with unanimous consent. Next item, approval of the final agenda. Are there any changes, additions? Not seeing anything. Can I get a motion to approve the final agenda?
Move to approve the agenda as presented.
Second. Thank you. Any opposed? All right, seeing none, we will move on with unanimous consent and move on to ceremonial. This meeting's only ceremonial proclamation is for International Dark Sky Week. Sorry, let me get a drink of water. All right. Whereas 80% of the world's population, including many people in Sequim, live under a dome of light pollution, excessive artificial light at night that disrupts natural darkness, and may never experience the visual wonder or ecological and health benefits of living under a dark sky. And whereas the damaging effects of artificial light pollution at night block our view of our stars in our Milky Way galaxy, and whereas the beauty and wonder of a night sky can grow interest, awe, and wonder in science and nature. And whereas light pollution has an impact on the overall quality of life of residents and visitors to Sequim and warrants attention. And whereas the city of Sequim is at the doorstep and entryway to the Olympic National Park, which is among the best places in the entire country to view the night sky through programs such as the Olympic Telescope program at Hurricane Ridge. And whereas the city of Sequim benefits economically from tourists and visitors who attend programs sponsored by the Olympic National Park and its astronomy programs. And whereas Dark Sky International's 5 Principles for Responsible Outdoor Lighting provides a model for Sequim community residents to follow to help protect and preserve the night sky. And whereas as nature's stewards, we can help preserve the beauty of our given natural surroundings in as good or better conditions to come while demonstrating a willingness and generosity to provide for its care. Now, therefore, I, Rachel Anderson, Mayor of the City of Sequim, and on behalf of the City Council, do hereby proclaim the week of April 13th to April 20th, 2026, International Dark Sky Week in Sequim in recognition of the detrimental effects of light pollution and each resident to join not only in observing and pondering upon this important week, but also in raising awareness and support for protecting our precious dark sky as a natural resource. Signed on this 13th day of April, 2026, Rachel Anderson. And do we have anyone to accept? Scott. Oh. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Could you say your name into the microphone, please? Oops.
We now have the speaker on. I'm the chairwoman of Dark Sky Olympic Peninsula, and I want to thank the mayor and the city council for recognizing International Dark Sky Week. Light pollution is a growing problem that affects human and wildlife health and well-being, wastes billions of dollars of energy, and degrades the environment around us. Fortunately, solutions are within reach to decrease light pollution and protect the night sky. And even small changes at the community level in our own homes can make a meaningful difference. Light pollution is reversible. More light is not necessarily safer, but better lighting is. And we use the 5 principles of responsible lighting. It is needed and useful, targeted, low level, controlled, and warm colored. Dark Sky Olympic Peninsula is made up of a group of dedicated individuals that advocate for responsible lighting that protects the night skies, supports our public and ecological health, and reduces energy waste. We come from all walks of life. We are teachers, stargazers, photographers, clerks, farmers, civic leaders, engineers, retirees, and perhaps you. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Appreciate it very much. Thank you.
All right, any comments from council? None? I just have a quick comment so I grew up a feral woodland child in the forest of Blinn and was able to really admire the night sky a lot in my childhood. And I think that it was a really good opportunity to really, especially as a child, help bring about the self-awareness of like, it's not just me, right? We're all here together and living for something bigger than ourselves. And I think it's so important that kids can grow up able to experience that kind of feeling. So thank you so much for being here.
Rachel, it occurred to me that in this context, and it's a bit putting staff on the spot, but a comment that I get from time to time from citizens related to this is particularly on the new development here on 5th. North of here, manufactured home, Lavender Meadows on one side, and the other community on the other side, school and so on. Anyway, it's very brightly lit. And one side of the street, I can't remember which one is much brighter than the other side of the street. Maybe just raising that for awareness as a public comment rather than a comment from the public, rather than asking for an answer now. But it's an area within the city that has raised some concern. At least it's been brought to my attention.
Thank you. Yeah, Harmony.
Thank you. I don't have anything prepared for this, but I do know that there's, in addition to, I think that the benefits that come to the economic and the tourism aspect and the astronomy aspect are very important to recognize. And there's also so much benefit that we can provide to migratory species of birds and insects and the plants and everything around us. So it's such a multifaceted thing, and I'm grateful for this time that we've spent to talk about it. Thank you.
Absolutely. Any other comments before we move on? All right. We will now move on to public comment. All right. This is a limited public forum. Individuals providing public comment must not disrupt or otherwise impede the orderly conduct of the meeting. This is not a forum for hate speech. The City of Sequim supports the public's First Amendment right to free speech, but it does not support hate speech. Speakers are expected to be courteous and refrain from making hateful comments, sounds, or remarks. Any offensive words and conduct shared by the public do not reflect the city's values. The City of Sequim stands firm in its commitment to being an inclusive community and rejects discrimination of any kind. And just a preemptive note to please refrain from clapping or any hurrahs, just something that we've seen in the past that we have to gotta reel a little back. So thank you.
For individuals attending in person, please take a moment to silence your cell phones. Each person will have 3 minutes to speak on any topic, and there will be a timer visible on the screen. A total of 30 minutes, 10 speakers will be permitted for public comments. When your name is called, please state your name if you are representing an organization in your city of residence. And no one has signed up for remote public comment. Sarah Kincaid.
Sarah Kincaid, Sequim. It has come to my attention that 5 of the members of the Sequim City Council were not only endorsed by the tribe, but they contributed heavily to their campaigns. I also found that the letter of support for the transfer of public property to the tribe was not written by our mayor. It was in fact written word for word by Ron Allen. It was then placed on the consent agenda and moved only because so many people were present in opposition. I am asking that the 5 members to recuse themselves from voting on any business involving the tribe. While it may not be legally required to do so, not recusing yourself certainly has the appearance of impropriety.
Darlene Shanfeld.
Darlene Shanfeld, Sequim, Washington. And I've sent in quite a few comments over the last few weeks, also from Protect the Peninsula's Future. So I hope you will take time to read those if you haven't. And thank you for your resolution on the dark skies. Really appreciate that. And while we're talking about nature, that is very much what we're talking about here with the Dungeness Refuge. The traditional way of life, I think we all recognize the sordid history of this country when it comes to the tribes. But those animals in the water were there for sustenance. The tribes were not growing animals. They were reliant on the animals and the seafood for their existence. And that should be respected. The industrial shellfish farm that will be going in there, which is being admitted to, would be eventually 80,000 plastic bags, and quite a disturbance to the whole operation, the sediments and everything. The flow of the water, the flow of the sediments, it will be a terrific change down there. I learned something today, but you will have to look into it to be sure that it's correct. And maybe your attorney knows. But I was told that when the Bureau of Indian Affairs takes this land into trust, it is the Bureau of Indian Affairs that owns the land. It's in trust for the tribe, but they don't own it. It's the BIA that owns it. And in fact, the Bureau of Indian Affairs can do anything they want with it. Log, have a business, build homes, anything they want. So it would be good for you to check that out and make sure that that's accurate, because that's critical, that someone else doesn't get their hands on it for other purposes. So I ask you, don't be pulled into this situation. As you know, there's an ongoing court suit. I'm one of the plaintiffs on this. It's in the U.S. Ninth Circuit Court. They are deciding on whether the tribe has any, can intervene or not. And I would wish you would just wait and let this lawsuit go forth before you make any decision. Thank you.
John Garner.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and members of the council. My name is John Garner, and thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today, even though I'm not from the city of Sequim. I drove here from Tacoma today out of the care and concern that I have for both the Dungeness National Wildlife Refuge and also the city of Sequim. We enjoy your town immensely every trip that we make to the Olympic Peninsula, which is just about every year. And we've been doing it for quite a while. When I used to buy film coming through Sequim, that's hard to find. My ask for you today is if you could please delay your support for this land transfer until we know more about how this would work. And I don't think we know that at this time. We simply don't have that information about the impact that commercial activities that are being proposed will have on wildlife. When a 50-acre commercial oyster farm was first proposed, refuge staff performed the required compatibility determination, or CD, to see if a commercial oyster farm is compatible with the goals of the National Wildlife Refuge. Not surprisingly, staff came back with a determination that no, a commercial oyster farm is not compatible with the aims of the Dungeness National Wildlife Refuge. Staff was later directed to retract the compatibility determination, and to date, a finalized CD has not been issued, despite being required by the National Wildlife Refuge System Administration Act. And as Darlene mentioned, a lawsuit is currently playing out, and we should know what that means for the future of what the refuge will be and how it will be managed. To me, it makes sense that if we do a compatibility determination, and if it comes back and finding that a shellfish farm and refuge are compatible, then let's go ahead, let's proceed. But if it's not compatible, then shouldn't we know that before we give away management control, give away ownership of a treasure like the refuge? And shouldn't all of us, especially new owners, want to understand if a 50-acre oyster farm is compatible with the needs of endangered migratory wildlife? I would think that would provide wonderful information about how to manage it going forward in the future. We've got some great treasures here. I just ask for your help. And the importance of your decision, you'll be putting a stake in the ground today to say this is where we, as a forward-thinking municipality, believe we should take in terms of transferring refuges to a private entity. It's only been done in like one other location. That's the National Bison Range in Montana. Something new. You're setting a precedent here. Let's get some information before we make that decision. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for your service.
Kurt Kirkland.
Members of the council, my name is Kirk Kirkland. I'm with the Environmental Coalition of Pierce County, and we come here to talk about the National Wildlife Refuge because it's important to people in the state as much as it is for you. The proposal to transfer the Dungeness Wildlife Refuge to the Jamestown tribe has two fatal flaws. One of them you've heard from John, but another one is it is not in compliance with the National Wildlife Refuge System Improvement Act. It was a new act that passed in 1997 that said if somebody's going to take it over or improve it, the new owner of the land has to maintain a biological intensity, integrity, and has to match with the refuge's primary vision. So they can't take it over, basically, essentially, and make an aquaculture oyster farm as the dominant thing if it impacts the wildlife. And that's the critical thing. Commercial agriculture, planting oyster baskets near eelgrass beds, habitat for birds is not compatible. It doesn't maintain the biological integrity. It takes it down. And that's what the problem is. And that's why this act came into being. They didn't want to sell it out to make farms out of it. They wanted it to improve the current mission or add to it. And it doesn't seem that's what's happening. It was Judge Settle in a federal court in Tacoma recently affirmed the Improvement Act's authority. And so let's see here. The court found that the Fish and Wildlife Service cannot evade its duty by recharacterizing its commercial activities to avoid oversight. By not doing a biological assessment, which was required, they were proposed to go forward. Well, this appeal went to Superior Court in Tacoma, and they found that it needed to happen. So that's waiting in the background, and there's a real rush at this point to get this passed in April, which is and before the trial date comes in May. So if they pass this, you'll lose all hope of environmental integrity, and the only thing that's stopping you is the National Wildlife Refuge System Improvement Act. I guess I ran out of time, but thank you for your time and attention, and hope you'll keep these in mind as you set guidelines.
Deborah Harrison.
My name's Deborah. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I don't think this is a tribe versus no tribe issue. It's a industrialization of a pristine wildlife refuge or not. I don't care who owns it. I want it to stay pristine and unmarred by human industry. I remember learning in school, Teddy Roosevelt. He was an avid conservationist, very concerned about the bird populations because they were being wiped out. He started the refuge system. And then Woodrow Wilson in 1915 recognized this very special spot on the spit as critical habitat for nesting and feeding of birds that are at this point in human industry, our history, they're beleaguered for many reasons. I feel this refuge was saved for 115 years from human commerce and industry, from people like Teddy Roosevelt and Woodrow Wilson, who had the foresight to say we need strong federal laws protecting these very special spots. We have an obligation. It was gifted to us in pristine condition. We've enjoyed it. We have an obligation to bequeath it to the next generation, our children and our children's children. in the same pristine condition. And that means no commercial industry, no putting 180,000 plastic bags and claiming that it's going to have no bad effect on the wildlife. Let's get real. That's counterintuitive. Any of you who have ever interacted with a wild bird knows the least amount of activity and they fly away. That does not make sense. I don't care who owns the land. What will be the protections if the tribe gains sovereignty over it? There will be no federal laws saying you have to curb your commercial interests. Will there? That's what I'd like to ask you. What will be the laws that protect it from being ruined? Will there be any recourse for citizens? I love the tribe working in partnership. It's working really well. Let's keep it that way. Partnership. Keep the strong federal protections. That's what saved this refuge for 115 years. We owe it to our children.
Joanne Rudd.
Good evening. My name is Joan Rudd. I live in Sequim. When I moved here 10 years ago, I was immediately impressed by the contribution that the tribe has made to this community. The medical clinics, the dental clinics, they obtained enough COVID vaccine for the whole town. The bridge over the Dungeness River. It goes on and on. And to me, this gives the tribe a great deal of credibility. When in doubt, I give them the benefit of the doubt. I trust them with the environment. I understand that there's an issue potentially with this oyster bed. I also understand that they plan to test it in a very small space before they go forward with it. And I know I've heard a lot of other negative comments about it, that if you give them this land, they're going to shut off access to people. They've never done that to anything around here. You walk across the bridge whenever you want to. You walk at the levee that they did whenever you want to. These are not likely scenarios. So yeah, I feel a great deal of trust to this tribe. And the other big point is that it'd be lovely if we could say, we're just going to keep it the way it is. We don't get to. The federal government is slashing the budgets for the Forest Service, for the Fish and Wildlife Service. They don't want this land. It's not on the tax rolls. It doesn't make them any money. And they don't want the expense of taking care of it. We're lucky in this community that we have a strong, responsible tribe that's willing to step forward and take care of these lands for us. Thank you.
John Bridge.
Thank you, Ms. Mayor. I'm John Bridge, and I've lived on Govan Avenue for the last 50 years. And I spend a lot of time going down to the Spit to walk there. I take all of my out-of-town guests to go there. And it's been really nice in the last 2 years to see what the tribe has done when they've taken over managing that. And I think that the tribe has been have proven themselves to be great stewards of not just the Spit and the Protection Island, but in everything else that they've done for the salmon here. So I'm speaking in favor of this, and I don't think anything, what lawsuits are involved doesn't have anything to do with your decision. You're just saying, hey, can we support our neighbors that are done everything for us? And the tribe is, I guess, when this land could get transferred to them, one of the conditions is that they provide access to everyone, and they said they would do that, and they've always been great neighbors, and so I'm sure that they will continue to do that. because they've proven over and over again that they will do that. And can I give a last minute of my time to someone else here?
Unfortunately, we cannot. I'm so sorry.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Lonnie Greninger.
Good evening, Mayor and Councilors. My name is Lonnie Greninger. I'm the Vice Chairwoman for the Jamestown Squam Tribe, and grateful to be able to provide 3 minutes of comment over a very complicated issue. But what I will start off with is I'm glad to hear so many comments tonight. No matter what you're hearing tonight, the theme that I'm hearing is care. Everyone cares about the refuges, and so I'm really glad to hear all of that. And I am here to give about 2.5 minutes of why we care at the Jamestown Squam Tribe and why we want to be able to transfer this management into our hands. There's a lot of clarification that needs to be brought forward. So if there is a particular work session or a meeting that the councilors like to have with the tribe moving forward, we would be happy to answer some questions, do a little bit of myth busting. But when we're talking about transferring lands, right now it's U.S. Fish and Wildlife, which is under the Department of Interior. We'd be asking, this legislation would be asking to transfer that land from U.S. Fish and Wildlife to the Department of Interior's Bureau of Indian Affairs. And so the federal government still does retain ownership of the land. When you hold it in trust for the tribe, it just means that we have fuller management of it rather than sharing it with the BIA or with U.S. Fish and Wildlife. And when you take out that partner of co-management, what you're allowing the tribe to do is basically relieve ourselves of bureaucracy. We can take care of issues right then and there in real time. We're able to move issues forward quickly. We're able to use our resources quickly with staff. And so we're also able to put our cultural values forward, being able to respond to fire, invasive species, incidents, whatever it might be, whatever management is supposed to be, both from the federal government's eyes and the tribe's eyes, we get to share that and move that forward. And so that is a lot of what we're doing here. And we also want to be able to have some sort of official connection to our ancestral lands again. One of the things that I would like to highlight is we've been in this co-management agreement for 2 years. It started in August 2024, and we've been seeing a lot of success. Volunteerism is going up. Our ability to respond to green crab invasive species has gone up. Previously, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife by themselves did not have the capacity to do what we can with our volunteer system. And because of our amazing volunteers, we've been able to catch over, I think it was 1,600 green crab last year, whereas previously Fish and Wildlife alone was only 168. So that's just one example, but our volunteers are the heart of what's making this work. And so we're really glad to have all those volunteers along with us. But what I would like to say, I got 20 seconds here, but we do intend to keep public access. We've never, ever wanted to shut the people out because people are connected to the land. It's not just the Sklalams. Other people are connected to this land too. So we will maintain public access if this act should pass. We will never develop on it. That's not allowed. And I see that I'm running out of time, but we can follow up if the councilors would like more information on this complicated issue. Thank you.
Ron Richards.
Hi, I'm Ron Richards, Port Angeles. Darlene Schoenfeld just spoke on behalf of Protective Peninsula's Future. Her organization over the years has done more for the Jamestown tribe's interests than any organization I know, while promoting the economic development of Clallam County. They worked to prohibit a nuclear power plant on Miller Peninsula. Now the tribe has their headquarters there, and there's a beautiful state park not damaged by nuclear power plant effects. When an oil port was proposed for Port Angeles and a crude oil pipeline through the rivers and across the streams in Admiralty Inlet, PPF was a leader in opposing that. When the port first proposed a Sequim Bay Marina, which would have, in a way that would have destroyed the beach and the shellfish beds south of the marina, would have destroyed the fish runs in Johnson Creek, and would not have had public boat launching facilities, PPF stepped in and forced them to build the marina in the beautiful way it is now built with public boat launching facilities. When Sequim had a badly polluting sewer system, PPF sued the city of Sequim and forced it to build the modern day sewer plant that they have, which is the key to Sequim's development. Then that organization sued Clallam County to amend its critical areas ordinance to better protect our fish-bearing streams. Those were all to the benefit of the Jamestown tribe's interests. Then the Jamestown tribe proposed putting their hotel on a septic drain field sewer system. They got 2 permits from Clallam County and the BIA that were totally illegal. Sequim threatened to, PPF threatened to sue Sequim to stop that project. Only then did the tribe connect to the sewer system, to the Sequim sewer system. They also were a leader in passing the legislation to prohibit fish farms in our waters. Now they have a lawsuit to protect the spit from this oyster farm. Not ironically, the Jamestown tribe is now partners with Cook Aquaculture to put in fish farms as well as their oyster farms. These last 3 issues, the sewer system, the oyster beds, and the fish farms, are not real good things for the environment. And they cause me to question the tribe's ability to manage this successfully. And the thought that we have taken those lands from the tribe is not the case. Those tribes have the right to do everything on those lands that they ever have. And they also have the right to a superior water right to protect their interest. So this concept that we've taken these facilities from the tribe is not correct. I would urge you to recommend maintaining the status quo. Thank you.
Last speaker is Brian, and I'm so sorry I can't read your last name. Brian, I'm sorry.
Brian Grad at 98382. I live just outside of Sequim. I want to congratulate the City Council for issuing or endorsing this letter of support for the transfer of the lands. The provenance of this letter, it doesn't matter. The fact is, it entails and describes the specific content of the reason, the rationale for doing this. You know, I lived in Silverdale and moved here in 2010. I had no experience with tribal neighbors before, and I'm pleased to say that my experience is totally positive from what I've seen. When we talk about the history of this area, think about what was despoiled after the tribes were displaced. The tribes didn't change the flow of the river, which destroyed the salmon beds. The tribes, when the river got down in 2015, rolled their sleeves up and put sandbags out there to create channels to keep the fish going upstream. Jimmy Come Lately Creek, what a success story. It was pretty bad and pretty sad when I first moved out here. It's a beautiful little creek now. It's got salmon running up at the Nature Center. The trestle, everything that they have put their hands to is golden. They've turned it into an asset that this community should be proud to be a part of. And when we talk about ownership, as you said before, the tribe isn't going to own it. They're stewards. The land is held in trust for the tribe through the Interior Department, the Bureau of Indian Affairs. Okay, I don't see the notion that somehow the tribe is going to benefit economically through this. I just don't get that. I don't see it. They're going to continue to maintain access. Your senior card that you have that allows you access to national parks, they are going to honor that. It won't cost us seniors anything to use the facilities that are already basically ours as citizens of this country. So again, I appreciate the thought that you put into this. You're a deliberative body. You did your work. And I hope that in the end, everybody will see this as a positive transformation and a continuing testament to the resilience of a culture that's been here for thousands of years somehow survived all of the suppression that colonization brought with it. There's so many fingers to point at everybody. Who knows who's to blame exactly? The point is, they survived. They managed. They found a way to thrive and to share that wealth of knowledge and spirit with the rest of us. Thank you.
This concludes public comment.
Thank you to everyone who spoke tonight. We have no public hearing today. On to consent agenda. City Clerk, if you could read the consent, please.
We have claim vouchers totaling $1,441,282.04. City Council meeting minutes from March 23rd, 2026. 2026 curb ramp replacement project contract amendment. SMC Chapter 805 junk vehicles full chapter replacement ordinance. Lodging Tax Advisory Committee appointment of Shelly Schleve. Recreation Conservation Office grant agreement resolution.
Thank you so much.
Move to approve the consent agenda as read.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Any opposed? Seeing none, we will move on using unanimous consent. Just a quick note that our city clerk Heather is training Shannon, and Shannon's doing great. We will now move on to general business. Flora's Acres annexation, the 10% petition from Scott.
Madam Mayor and council members, I met some of you. I'm Scott Radden. I'm the senior planner in the Department of Community Development. So I'm here for you tonight. This is about the city. They received an intent to annex letter from Flora's Acres Homeowners Association representatives, and that was dated on the 25th of February. State law provides that the city council meet with the applicant within 60 days. We're at day 47 right now, so we're good. That we determine the annexation petition will be authorized by the council. I'm sure you got my staff report. I'm just going to kind of go through the main points. There was a concern about the 10%. Flora's Acres did provide a lot more than that, but per state statute, we're required to go through the 10% portion of it. And then if tonight you guys move this forward, then there is a list of all the different things within the procedures of an annexation for the 60% method that we'll kind of go through. We'll come back. We'll do all those things as well. Real quick, was there any questions on the maps that were provided? Okay. The Flora's Acres annexation effort is a component of the partnership and current efforts between the City of Sequim, Clallam County state agencies, and Homeowners Association to address serious infrastructure and public health concerns. Some of these considerations, Flora's Acres has a deteriorating private on-site septic system at risk of failure and an aging well water system. The planned infrastructure improvements include replacing the deteriorating private well system, community septic system, and connecting them both to the city. Grant funding from Washington State Departments of Ecology, Health, and Commerce has been secured. The remaining costs will be paid by the residents through a utility local improvement district. The annexation, which was kind of the intent of part of this process through all the upgrades, the intent was annexation to own, operate, and maintain the new infrastructure and provide city resident rate structure to the homeowners and provide simplified administration of grants. So with that, the proposed annexation area is zoned currently within Clallam County as Urban Residential 2, which is SR2, And on the city's future land use map, the residential lots adjacent to Still Road, Belfield, and Blair Avenue are designated as SQUIM low-density residential, which is our R48, as you probably know. And then tracks A and B, which are on those northern portions, which are adjacent to East Hammond Street. Those are designated as community mixed use. If annexed, they will be zoned, we hope, accordingly, if approved. The streets, Belfield and Blair Avenues, are also in that portion of land that would be annexed accordingly. So with that, staff recommend that the city authorizes circulation of a 60% petition, accept the proposed annexation geographic area as identified in Figure 1 of the staff report, and then utilize the city's future land use and zoning maps to identify the appropriate designations upon annexation, and confirm upon annexation that the properties will assume its proportionate share of existing city bonded indebtedness.
Are there any questions for Scott?
And this is the first one we've done in 20-something years. And Carla Boughton is got a procedural guide that she's sharing with Colum County, because I don't even think they knew what, they haven't done any for a while. So we're trying to help everybody at this point.
I just have a comment that it's very exciting to see Flora's Acres on the agenda each time it comes up, because it's just one more step closer to getting them the infrastructure that they need.
Yeah.
That's what I'm excited about. Any other comments?
No, I just appreciate all the hard work, because I know the homeowners there are very excited to keep this moving forward.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, thank you, Scott. All right, and with that, sorry,
Yeah, wait for a motion.
sorry. Is anybody willing to make a motion?
I move to authorize the Flora's Acres annexation proponents to circulate a 60% annexation petition accepting the geographic boundaries of the annexation area as identified in Figure 1 of the staff report, to assume the land use designations and zoning districts as identified on the city's current future land use and zoning maps, and to assume its proportionate share of the city's bonded indebtedness.
I will second that motion.
Thank you. And can we do a roll call, please?
Counselor Berger,
Yes.
Counselor Butler,
Yes.
Counselor Chimslin,
Yes.
Mayor Anderson,
Aye.
Counselor Rutter,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Hartman.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Excellent. Thank you, Scott. All righty, we will move on to info only. We have a very exciting city fleet update from Matt Shackelford.
Mayor, council members, good evening. I just wanted to ask if you had any questions on the presentation from the information only agenda item. Okay.
I don't have any questions. It's just like a quick comment of, yes, I know it's operations, so forgive me, city manager, but when I first came on as a council member, there were a lot of things we needed to work on, and getting the fleet all managed and updated, I think, was one of my biggest concerns, just because we had so much resources. And so thank you so much to the entire team that's been able to get this up and running. And it's just such a great asset management is a great asset, because then everybody can be on the same page. So I really appreciate it. Thank you.
I had a question on, there's a slide about vehicle replacement rating, and it was talking about all the different criteria are scaled on a scale from 1 to 5. Yes. And then in the example given, it showed a vehicle replacement rating of 6.91. what is the range that that vehicle replacement rating runs from? It could go to 0 to how high?
0 to 30 is how that system's designed. But I spoke about that we have some lacking of historical values. So that range actually compressed down to 25 makes a little bit more sense. It makes actually a lot more sense in how we view the conditions of those vehicles in terms for replacement. It is also viewed as the lower the number, the better the condition in this situation.
And how would this differ when you're tracking things like strictly electric vehicles as opposed to hybrid or gas?
So in a lot of cases, well, in all those cases, it would be very similar in those overall criteria. It's looking at the age, it's looking at the overall condition of the vehicle, not only age, but the how well that vehicle is holding up to the overall conditions as it's going forward through the years, the structure of the vehicle, the tires, all of the things that make it overall condition.
Are you looking at miles or hours more on an electric
It depends
vehicle?
on the classification of vehicle. For passenger cars and light trucks, it's going to be miles. On the heavier equipment, it's going to be hours. But we do view both in a lot of scenarios. Like for an example, your PD vehicles, the patrol vehicles, they get a lot of idle time. So we're also looking at overall hours on those as well as the mileage.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else?
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you. Thank you.
No, she'll dismiss you. I'm just saying thank you.
Well, and this is me, Shaq, over here. I just want to thank you. I want to thank the mayor for recognizing and all the council members. This is a huge lift. Matt did a lot of this himself. As you know, his background is in vehicles and maintenance and all this. For the city, we have as you mentioned, such a large part of our assets are in this class. And so to know what we now have and what its condition is, and it right down to its VIN number and when it's time to oil change, and have all of that in a software, and to be able to manage those and know when to sell them and when not to, and all that is just a huge win for the city. So thank you for allowing Matt and Public Works to share the big lift that they've accomplished, and I just thought it needed to be appreciated publicly. So thank you for allowing us to share this with you tonight. Thanks, Matt.
And I'm just also grateful. Sorry, I know you keep trying to walk away from the podium. Also, I'm so grateful. This is like a little snapshot in city operations history, and so 20 years from now, we can look back on it and see hopefully how far we've come from where we've been. And so thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to reports. First up is our youth liaison report from Layla.
Good evening. For purposes of the record, this is Layla Sundin, Youth Liaison speaking. We had spring break, March 28th through April 4th. All Scum School District did. Spring formal was last Saturday, April 11th. Coming up, we have Walk for Water, which is an event that Interact puts on every year. It's a fundraiser for sustainable water access in Africa. I believe this year we're raising money for a village in Ethiopia. So that's coming up April 18th. All spring sports have officially begun their seasons, which happened right after spring break. Choir is leaving on a trip. I believe it's a regional competition, April 23rd. AP testing season has begun for high school students, which I lament at great length, but it's unfortunately time. The senior class ASB had an Egg My Yard fundraiser. which is helping fund graduation and prom next month. And we had, I'm not sure if this was a while ago, but Nature Bridge directly before spring break, which is for elementary schoolers. It's nature outdoor education program. And then high schoolers help chaperone and mentor. Today, there was a field trip to Peninsula College. It was a college and career interest trip. And so I know a lot of sophomores and juniors who are interested in what that would be like, specifically sophomores who are interested in doing Running Start went to do that. And the last thing is Executive ASB, which is our all school ASB for the high school, is doing campaigns this week, and elections for our Executive ASB are next week. So, yeah. Any questions?
Thank you, Layla. Up next is our city manager report.
Thank you, Council. It's always good to see you. I just wanted to highlight 3 or 4 things here tonight before finally getting your input on the ODT. But to begin with, the items I've wanted to highlight tonight are really multi-interdepartmental. So the first one is we had a successful communications tabletop exercise. This was gigantic. This was last Thursday. We finally completed this very sophisticated communications trailer. We had the fire district here. We had the hand radio people here. We had the state. We had the county. We had the public works. We had the sheriff's department. Everybody was able to test all of their radio frequencies and see if there's any deficiencies. So it was an amazing thing. You'll probably see we asked Barbara to participate so that she could try to capture the significance of that. I've been told that we're probably unlike most cities in the state by having this level of sophistication. So it took a lot of time with IT, with the PD, but just really, really grateful for the work that went into that. So wanted to share that as a win. Second win, I guess, was also interdepartmental, and that was we had both our finance department, utility billing specifically, and some of our public works staff go down to Vancouver to receive what's called the 2025 Meter System of the Year Award. This was our meter reader. People will recognize this. Over many years, we've been wanting to get to this point. We finally implemented about a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago. We implemented. It takes a while to get it. It took 3 of our staff off of the street walking 3 days a month to read meters, and now it's all done in real time and whatnot. And the best part of that, besides being able to use our staff for more than walking every home and yard of the city, is that we have real time data so that we can every morning we can see if anybody has a meter that's going crazy, and we can call them and say, you've got a break, you've got something. So we're able to really solve a water conservation and be on top of our water systems for our residents. So that was to be able to get an award for one of the smoothest, at least what they said was one of the smoothest implementations in the state in putting a program like this together was a real win. I think you all know the pressures, or not pressures, but the challenges that we're in HR. We're working hard and looking for a public works director, but getting close to that for a city manager, executive assistant, deputy chief of police, code enforcement officer, a temporary admin assistant for the Department of Economic and Community Development, et cetera. So lots of openings, lots of work being done, lots of time in interviews and resume reviewing and whatnot. So, and finally, news from Carrie Blake. It seems like there's always so much going on down there this time. Well, all times of year, but certainly in the spring and summer. You may have seen that we recently completed the relining of the reuse demonstration site pond there. Very expensive, very labor intensive, but it's done. It's full. We'll be able to kick off the spring fishing derby or whatnot. And at the same time, we had the Cisco Sister City Garden open house there that, of course, the mayor and several of you were at. Appreciate that support as well. But it's looking really good down there, and really grateful for all the work that Public Works and Parks put into that. I think I'll save my last item for another time, but it has to do with a strategic economic development plan that Carla's putting together that I think you're going to be very excited about. So my last point tonight, and I just really wanted to get your input. I think this is, I'm not seeing any friction on any level. As you know, I think I sent you an email. It has to do with the Peninsula Trails Coalition presenting the ODT to the state parks for a position for nomination to be up Scenic Bikeway, and the state parks then forwarded that recommendation from our local Trails Coalition leadership to us. We've passed it around, that nomination or that idea around to legal, Public Works, DCD, everybody. No, there's no liability, there's no cost. We would just simply get some signage and some recognition, a little support. So we're feeling like we should do that, but I always like to bring things in front of you. All I just kind of need is 4 thumbs up, and I'd feel like I've more than done what's asked. Even if we, as a group, approve of something like that, the state park I think there's over 15 nominations, and they can only approve like 7 or 8. So we really might not still get it, but it would be something that we should at least, I think, try for. So just kind of wanted to see if you had a chance to read some of the documents and that were presented by the state parks. Is there any questions about any of those documents or about the process or anything? I think, again, it doesn't have to be approved by the elected officials. I just thought I'd wanted to bring it to you in the spirit of transparency and, information and unanimous kind of nodding. So
Clear thumbs up here. I just think it's a great, it's an honor. It's a feather in SQUIM's cap, and little signs along the ODT that we're part of a beautiful park bikeway system in the state of Washington is just all positive. I don't see any downside at all. So thanks for pursuing it, and thanks for the demonstration of transparency. I think that's valuable.
Yeah, thank you. We had a Teams call, Megan and myself, with the parks liaison that was over this, and she knows our parks and or our ODT, and said, it really fits the best definition of the program of any nomination she's ever seen because of the historical, scenic, local feeling and how beautiful it is, really, from Fort Townsend all the way out to La Push. So yeah. Okay, then
Sounds great.
I'm feeling there's support. We may not get it, but we'll keep the paperwork going forward and let you know how that turns out. Thank you, Council.
Thank you. Any questions for City Manager before we move on? All right, moving on to our City Council committee reports. Sorry, let me get on the right page here. There we go. Okay, any reports from everyone? I have a couple, but I want to wait and let other people go first. If you have anything. No. Okay, so sorry. Okay. The SQUIM Shiso Sister City Association has been working very, very hard. It's a group of volunteers, and they've been working really hard for the last few months on a Friendship Garden open house. And we were able to have that on Saturday the 4th. That sounds right. And it was such a great event. It was well attended. There were digital storytelling opportunities using QR codes. There were paper crafts for kids, so it was like any ages kind of event. There were paper lanterns that were put up. that were made by students from Sequim School District. So I thought that was a really exciting partnership. There were garden tours, so a couple of the garden volunteers were there. I feel like I'm forgetting something. There was a ribbon cutting that was well attended, kite decorating. It was just, there were all kinds of fun things to do. And it was a really great event. I think somebody was there that was all the way from Bellevue, I think. Yeah. So it was, one, that news about it made it across the water was very exciting. But two, that they actually came to visit was just a total, it was like the cherry on top. So it was just a fabulous event. And I really want to thank all of our volunteers for putting countless hours into getting something like that coordinated and completed. The follow through, I think, it was just such a great event. So really thank you to our volunteers. Thank you to everybody who could make it and attend the event. I think I saw Harmony there, and city manager was able to make it. That was exciting. So thank you to everybody who was able to come out. One other thing was, I wasn't sure whether to put this in open council discussion, but I think I'll put it here. So the youth liaison, I'll call it a committee, but it's really just me coordinating a lot of that. And we got some really great news about a week or two ago that, I don't know if you guys remember, but a while back we had nominated Layla for the Association of Washington Cities Center for Quality Community Scholarship. And it was a whole process that we had to do as a council. And we got the word that Layla was chosen. She was chosen as one of the scholarship recipients. And so we were just so excited. And Layla works so hard. She volunteers so much, and she does so great in school. And so I'm so proud of her. And it was such an exciting, oh my gosh. I almost started getting tears in my eyes when I got the email and was like, oh my gosh, forward. I was so excited. So congratulations to Layla. Yes. All right. So that's all from me.
I just wanted to comment on the Shiso City celebration over there. You couldn't have asked for better weather considering the weather that followed. It was wonderful.
We got so lucky, and I think it's always such a hard timing thing, right? You don't know when the cherry blossoms, will start blooming or start budding. And I was so worried that they would, because it got so warm so quickly, I was worried they would bloom and be gone by the time we had our open house, but we just made it and it was fabulous. I couldn't have asked for a better day. So thank you. All right, one last chance. Anything else? Okay, we will move on to the number 13, open council discussion, the Jamestown Schleve Tribe Land Transfer Act letter of support discussion. And I wasn't quite sure how to start this off, but I guess I'll do a quick recap of the process. Agencies or organizations can request a letter of support. They're not typically written by me or anybody in staff. They're typically written by the agency applying, the applicant, but we do read over them, and legal reads over them just to make sure they, align with our values and align with the things that we appreciate. So, I think that's the pretty highest level recap I could go. We've had a lot of public comments. We've had a lot of emails. And I did want to let people know that, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think Nicole was the one that brought it up and knows more about it, but there was a type of discussion, Q&A type of event at the county level where the Schleve tribe was able to discuss, answer some questions that a lot of people had. And I haven't been able to watch it yet, but I have been told that they did answer all of the questions that people had asked us. And so I did want to say that I'm very grateful for the county for having that partnership with the Schleve tribe to be able to get people's questions answered. I think that's all I have for now. So with that, does council have any comments? Yes.
So when we were putting this on the agenda under open council discussion, it was because we weren't sure when that presentation was going to happen at the time. So I did watch it this morning. It was very well done. I don't know how long it takes the county to then upload the recording. So I wanted to take this opportunity to suggest we bring this back for a decision at our next meeting so that everybody on council and anybody in the audience who's not seen the presentation has the opportunity to do so, because the county commissioners did a really good job at their first work session a week ago, kind of trying to collate all the questions they'd been receiving and the similar emails that we've received. And then had brought that so that the tribe could speak to that this morning in the work session. And it really, I felt like after reviewing the documentation that we have in here and then viewing that presentation, I feel satisfied that we know what it is and what it is not. So I'll wait till everybody else speaks before we make a motion, though. Thank you.
Just to answer the specific question, the recording is uploaded now on the county, and it is available. I watched it this afternoon, and it's very worthwhile. One thing that interested individuals watching it will be able to separate the misinformation that is circulating from the relevant information and make more informed decisions. And I would agree with you that council, before we make a decision, needs to have that information. In terms of the information, last meeting, we asked the background information to the letter of support to be provided, and that's what's been attached here in the agenda. And I found particularly the attachment 4, the fact sheet, to be very helpful. It's one page. Again, it's available. It's to anybody that wants to access it. And it addresses much of the concern that has been raised by the public, legitimate concern raised by the public based on misinformation that has been circulated. And I just would commend that to you. And also want to just acknowledge the tremendous partner that the tribe is to us as a city, and the relationship that we have with the tribe has with us, as was mentioned earlier. And to sort of highlight, you went over the process a little bit quickly. We get these sort of requests for letters of support for everything from the YMCA to Boys and Girls Club to just all the agencies that are trying to do something larger than us and need additional letters of support in order to accomplish that. And so this is not something unique, and the process followed by the tribe drafting the letter is a typical process. So the sort of the connotations that there's something untoward about this process needs to be addressed. So thank you.
Anyone else?
Similarly to you, Mayor, I did not have the opportunity to watch the recording of the county commissioners work session in full. I did scan. I was able to I had half an hour, so I had to skip around in it. And I would support also providing another set time for everyone to have the opportunity to review the presentation. I am going to go back and watch it fully without having to skip forward and backward, and so that I can really feel that that I'm able to utilize that resource fully. So lucky are we that we live in this digital age that the Jamestown slalom. Alani was there along with two scientists, and they gave their present. From what I saw, the presentation was very detailed and fact-oriented, and I want to go back and watch the whole thing. And it's such an amazing, so amazing that we all can have access to go back and look at that. I think that from what I have experienced, I think that there is a lot of interest in this. And one thing that I would like to highlight for everyone as they are watching the presentation, the section that I did see near the end was a very, I thought, well-crafted synopsis by Todd Mielke, the county's administrator, about the way that people approach this issue, about how people feel that they are, because as taxpayers, people feel maybe I shouldn't try to summarize his statement, but like it's worth going and looking at his comment. Todd Mielke, I think, really does a very excellent job of explaining or summarizing the kind of the themes of people's strong opinions and feelings about this issue, and the way he phrased it and the way that Lonnie and the two staff members responded to his comment was very, very insightful in a good way. And I feel that I think that given dwindling federal resources, I think that having a tribal entity who can step forward and continue with the management that they've already demonstrated over the past 2 years. I'd like to keep learning more about it, but I think that I have seen that there has been something really positive happening there, and I'd like to learn as much as I can about it, and I'd like to give everybody all the time between now and whenever this comes back on our agenda to do some more reflection on this issue. So yes, that's what I'd like to share at this moment. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. Well, hold on, processing. How about we bring it to the next meeting's agenda, so the 27th, under general business. Is everybody comfortable with that? I'm seeing nods. Yes, yes, yes. Yes, excellent. Okay, thank you.
Would it be possible technologically to attach the link to the county's commissioners thing this morning to these minutes so that the public that looks to us for that information has it easily accessible? They may not be as familiar with getting to the county's commissioner's website to get the recording off of there. Trying to find as many ways as possible to give access to the public to that information.
We'll figure out what we can do.
Yeah. And the other comment, I'm sorry, Rachel, I should have said earlier, is one thing I learned in this presentation today is that there is no rush on this. This is proposed legislation at the front end of a federal process, and we can all read into that what we think in terms of how fast it's going to move for the next legislative session, so the 2027 legislative session. So we're right at the front end of this, and we have time to be deliberative about it and not feel like we're under pressure. So I appreciated that clarification today.
All righty. Any other questions or comments before we move on? No? Okay. Does anybody else have anything for open council discussion? I don't think I do. If I did, I forgot it. All right, not seeing any. So we'll move on to the planning section. Our next agenda planning will be Wednesday morning, 9 a.m., April 22nd. If you can make it, great. Let Heather know. Okay, Nicole's going. I'm going. I'll be there. Pete's going. Arm wrestle Pete if you want to go. And then our next regular city council meeting will be Monday, April 27th. So.
And Keith with Frame of Mind will be there before the meeting.
Yes. So please be there by 5 so we can get council photos. Yeah. Oh, be there at 4:45. Sorry. 4:45. Make it happen, Captain. All right. And then I do also believe we have an executive session planned for 5:15. Please be there for that. And then a regular council meeting at 6. All right. I think we got everything. We're all copacetic. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I would like to motion that we adjourn tonight's city council meeting at 7:19 p.m. according to my computer.
Excellent. Second. Any opposed? Seeing none. Excellent. We are adjourned. Everybody, please drive home safe. Thank you for being here today.